Them kids outside playing so cute. Oh, heck yes. Heck yes. How you do that, Daryl? How you do that, Daryl? Woo! I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera, somewhere out in California, hopefully staying safe, is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Ooh, brother, tell him what your name is. Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. And we would like to collectively welcome you guys to Aftershock Reviews, your place for the best extreme music reviews. And today I preface this review with this. Please do not eat, please do not drink while you are watching this review, because the album I submit before you today and hope that you listen to is insanely gross. Might cause nausea, might cause headaches, might induce vomiting. The name of this album is called Ignorance Exalted by Phoenix, Arizona's Fluids. Now, this album follows up their project from last year called Exploitative Practices. And the thing about Fluids that really drew me to them, aside from their graphic, almost early Carcass-like covers, is the way that this band sounds. So we're really going to get into that in a second. Now, Exploitative Practices was a little bit more raw than this album is currently. And Exploitative Practices really brought in the idea of using real life samples of people suffering. It's almost like a snuff film. It's, oh dear heaven, it's graphic, it's gross. But the thing about it is the EP wasn't just shock factor, right? It wasn't like a piss grave was, like Posthumous Humiliation from last year, where people saw the cover and they're just like, oh my gosh. But then they listened to the music and it was like a hot or cold type of thing. Either you loved it or you kind of hated it. And a lot of people hated it because they said it kind of like lacked the musicality, right? It lacked ideas, right? It's just nothing but a cover and that's it. You can't say that for Fluids. You can't say that at all. This band understands groove, this band understands atmosphere, and this band understands a chunky riff. Heavens, a chunky riff. And I really do enjoy that about this band. I really do enjoy that about this band, because at this point, the music is matching the cover. And not only is the music matching the cover so far as quality is concerned, but also so far as nastiness and grossness is concerned. But let's get into the track listing real quick before I just go on a tangent, because the way this album starts off is Extorted. Now, Extorted gives us like this minute and a half like piece of these two men having a conversation, right? Don't know how that plays into the narrative of this album, but it does set a tone, right? And it does make you feel uneasy, right? It does make you feel like you're listening to something that you really have no business listening to. And once you really ensnared trying to decipher why the sample is here, you are thrust into the absolute madness that is Fluids. Ooh, because man, that percussion comes in like a big rig with no freaking brakes, and it starts mowing you down. Oh my gosh, it's great. And the thing about it is they're using like a drum machine in order to create the percussion here. And for me, especially as somebody who really did like, 90s industrial metal, like, I don't know, like Machines of Loving Grace, right? I'm really a fan of the drum machine when instituted right. And when they did it, the way they did it here is great, because at some point it feels like it's melting in with the buzzing out of control bass, because that bass guitar really not only gives it a sense of bottom, but not only does it help give it a sense of groove while it's moving and squirming with the kick drum and the rest of that nature, but like it really has a life of its own. This album feels like a festering wound. It really does. Like pus and meat and all that crap is just like being thrust into your face. It's not right. It's actually really not right. But I love it though, because at the same time, I also said that this band Fluids also understands groove, and they do, because this album still at its heart is a good old-fashioned death metal album, right? So there are really heavy riffs. And going back to the percussion itself that is being, presented to us via this drum machine is very, very elementary. Very elementary. There's not really much in the way of like virtuoso type drum fills and, really cool, time signatures and most of that thing. No, it's more than likely just a 4/4 throughout like a majority of these 8 tracks. It's just a 4/4 and it's simple. It's keeping time and it's very, very impactful. You feel it in your gut, and then they rip out your gut and then they hand it to you as they squeeze the contents of your gut out onto the floor. It's not, oh, good crap. But at the end of the day, though, I really do enjoy this about this album. How straightforward it is, but so well executed. It's kind of like how Genocide Pack's Order of Torment was, right? It's not much in the way of forward-thinking stuff like a Horrendous is, but what it is it's well executed stuff that just makes you enjoy the music. It puts you into the world that they're painting, and you're having a good time as that bass buzzes away, as this vocalist. Holy cow. When you're talking about evil vocalists, I thought Ethan McCarthy would be like the pinnacle of just gnarly, otherworldly types of vocalists, right? No, bruh. No. This guy here might be even more evil than, I'll say he's on, because Ethan ain't right. They're like neck and neck right now, because this guy's of like almost 9th ring of hell sort of grunt puts you just as off balance as the rest of the tracks. And his lyrics you can't understand. Like I can't understand his lyrics. I can't understand his lyrics for the life of me. But that adds to the ambiance, right? The fact that you don't know what's going on. And then we have tracks like Quartered, right? Now Quartered starts off yet again with another sample. Now we have what we have, I'm guessing it's like, some Latino gentlemen, and they are having they're laughing and yelling and screaming into the sample at this point. Now, judging off the nature of this track, probably what they're doing probably ain't right. They're probably either killing somebody, robbing somebody, or beating somebody. It's probably one of those things. But it sounds like they're having a rip-roaring good time while they're doing it. And then we have this off-kilter beat, one of the rare, if you want to call it experimental moments when it comes to the percussion, when it comes to Quarter, because it's a weird little groove that they have going on here. The guitars are buzzing away chunky, and the whole atmosphere is overwhelming. The whole atmosphere weighs on you. Like they're just dumping piles of dead bodies all over you as you suffocate on the pus and the blood and the fluids from those bodies being dumped on top of you. It's crazy. And the thing about it is, midway through the track, it's a small, minute detail, but it's a detail I really like, because it sounds like there's another percussionist or another drummer in the background, and he's like playing with his one drumstick a counter rhythm on the floor. So it's like ting ting ta-ching ting ta-ching ting ta-ching ting. You're like, wait, what is that? But like, it's so crude, right? It's so raw, right? Especially juxtaposed to the buzzing and the feedback and all this stuff from this track. It's really cool, right? And then at some point, when the tapping, like comes away and the track continues to progress forward, then you've got this buzzing almost repeating that percussion rhythm all over again. But at this point, since it's buzzing now, it feels like it's like flies flying around a slab of roadkill. It ain't right. It really ain't right. And the thing about it is, I keep saying it ain't right, but it's so great. It's so great because, like I say, they understand rhythm. They understand a good riff. And let me talk about the riffs real quick. The riffs for stuff like Chunked, right? And the riffs for stuff like Coerced, right? They're actually really catchy. This goes back to the old school death metal aspect of what they're doing. They understand how to craft a good rhythm. It's kind of like, yet again, I brought him up in the last review that I did, but I think he also kind of makes sense here. It's like the Joker, right? Especially when you're watching stuff like Heath Ledger Ledger's Joker, right? Not more so Joaquin Phoenix's, but maybe Heath Ledger's more first and foremost, like the pencil trick, right? Where he's like, he walks into the room and he's like, how about a magic trick? And then he like slams old boy's head into the pencil and he says, ta-da! See, it's gone, right? And you laugh at it after you're shocked by it. You're like, shh. Dang, right? But then you're like, that's actually kind of funny, right? Like the pencil actually is gone. But then you feel kind of bad that you laughed at somebody dying, right? You kind of feel bad about it. Same thing here, especially on a lot of these tracks. You're like, oh man, that's kind of dope. But then you hear tracks like Smothered, which closes out the album, and the sample in the beginning of Smothered is somebody actually. It sounds like they're dying. It sounds like either somebody's smothering them to death, but it probably wouldn't sound like that. It probably sounds like they're just being like suffocated, right? Sounds like they're being suffocated in front of you, which goes back to the snuff film aspect that I gave earlier, right? It's somebody actually dying. And you're like, holy cow, like you're horrified, you're petrified, you're disgusted, right? It's despicable, right? But at the same time, you really do enjoy and appreciate, if you're into this type of gore metal thing, you appreciate what they're painting for you here, right? And then when you have that shocking melody, right? Well, not melody, that shocking sample, right? The track then introduces itself, and it's actually a good track, full of thundering, buzzing, all-encompassing percussion, and a chunky butt riff. Crap. And that's what's going on here. This is a very good album. It's a very good album. And it's if you're into this type of thing, it's a very good time. Now, here's the thing. Now, some people might be like, I like gore metal and I like this type of thing, right? Like there's a difference between stuff like Exhumed and like Early Carcass. This is like what happens if Early Carcass met Pissgrave and then say, yo, let's also get some genocide packed in here. Because like I said before, there's not a lot of fast moments here. A lot of this stuff is very plotting. A lot of this stuff takes its time with you. It's kind of like it punches you in the face. Takes time for that hurt, that pain to really set in. It doesn't just keep hitting you all the time. It hits you once, lets you think about it. You be like, that really hurt. And then it does it again. You see what I mean? It's not repetitious like that. Like the only time it might speed up a little bit is in Quartered and in Hammered, which Hammered is really, Hammered might be my favorite track for this from this album. Not even mine. It's my favorite track from this album because it is so good. It has this chugging guitar riff, the buzzing, that mid-tempo rush to the head. It's nasty. It is so disgusting, but it is so satisfying. Holy cow. Like you might need to go see a therapist after you listen to this, especially if you enjoy it, because you might be like, I might not be right as a person. I'm really not. Because also, if you follow their Instagram account, they'll post pictures of like people's teeth missing, but then like the holes in the teeth are like, infected and like black crap is in there. They'll post a picture of like, an open wound that's infecting with like black pus and stuff coming out of it, or heaven to Megatroid, if you go and look at their stories, like you'll probably see some stuff of like piss and poo and all that. These guys, it makes sense they made this. That's about the best way I can describe it. It makes sense they made this. But at the same time, I might just be just twisted enough to actually really enjoy it. I really encourage people to listen to this album because if we take away the shock factor from it, right? If we take away the fact that this thing is hard to look at and hard to stomach, it's still good music without all the bells and whistles. The name of this album is called Ignorance Exalted by Fluids. You can catch this now. We'll put a link below for their Bandcamp, and we'll also put a link below for their Spotify page. I highly encourage you go. I think all the tapes might be sold out, but they do have orders for you. You can buy the CDs and you can buy the vinyl. So I really do encourage you guys to check that out. Also, you can buy the digital copy for $7. Good stuff. Good stuff. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand. Tell him one more time, what's your name, man? Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. Wash your hands, support your bands. Peace.